Hello dear friends, and welcome to this video which will be about the blood type diet, which was the second diet I tried as a diabetic. This is not a recommendation. I know that the blood type diet has been disproven by science. I'm also not a medical professional, so please don't start to follow this diet because I have said so. And I will just talk about my experience with this diet. That is everything. If you want to start a diet, talk to your nutritionist, talk to your doctor. Don't listen to me, just my experience with this diet. And this diet also kind of consists of 4 different diets, as you can see here, one for type O, one for type A, one for type B, and one for type AB. And I'm type O, so that's the only part of this diet I'm familiar with. And you can also divide it into sub-diets. For example, if you have O+, O-, and so on. So there's a lot of diets kind of in this diet. But the thought behind this diet was that in the beginning we all had type O. Then with agriculture, type A developed. And some people became more nomadic, lived more nomadic lives. Then type B developed. And in modern cities, the last 100 years, also some people have this hybrid modern variant type AB. And that you should then eat as a human from that type of society. Like a hunter or gatherer if you're type O. Like somebody who is doing agriculture with type A. With somebody that lives with and from their animals, type B, and somebody that lives more in a modern city with type AB. And there are a lot of food lists you can find online with what you then recommend to eat, what you should avoid, and what is more neutral for your diet. So when I talk about a little bit what I did, there is also many types of meat you should avoid when you have type O. But I will just give the rough outlines and I can also go a bit more into the details. But yeah, this will be a very short, or else this will take hours, and a bit then, the big lines from this diet. So with type O, it is then recommended you should eat more low carb. You should eat a lot of meat. Red meat, beef is highly recommended. Also some fish is recommended on this diet, is also good. And vegetables, some fruit is also okay, a lot of vegetables, and nuts and seeds are also highly recommended. You should avoid sugar, should avoid grains, should avoid most dairy products. So that is what is recommended if you're type O. So for example, my diet, when I was on this blood type diet, which I was for a few months, and I have to say, felt pretty good while doing it, was then these types of food, like a low carb diet with a lot of red meat, some fish, a lot of vegetables, some fruits and nuts and seeds was mainly the things I was eating. So for example, I would skip breakfast, not the biggest breakfast person in general. And for lunch, I would have some fruit, a lot of vegetables, and I would have fish. So this would be my lunch, and my dinner would be beef, a big piece of beef. Again, mostly vegetables connected to this. And I would also have some snacks during the day with some nuts, some seeds, maybe some dried fruit, but not too much fruit. It's said on this type O diet you shouldn't have too much sugar in the diet. So not too much fruit, but that some is good. So this was mainly my everyday, like a lot of vegetables, a little bit of fruit, and a lot of meat and some fish. And I have to say, for me, I felt really amazing on this type of diet. I really felt amazing. I felt a lot of energy. my digestion was super on this diet. And I also could see it on my blood sugar that it was very easy to control. I didn't need a lot of insulin during the day or during the night. So on all these levels, it was quite optimal for me. Actually, I still eat a little bit like that to this day, bit more low carb, because I feel very good. And I'm also this type of person, I can eat a big steak with some vegetables, for example, or some potatoes or something like that, and I still feel amazing after. Some people have to lay down on the couch, but I get a lot of energy from this, and feel vitalized instead of tired and sleepy after a lot of red meat. So it makes me feel actually still to this day very, very good. So that would be the basic for me. And with insulin, I didn't need to take a lot of insulin during the day. At that time, I was also working as a gardener. I was studying and had a summer job as a gardener when I did this diet. And it also made me feel very, very good. Sadly, on this diet, coffee is not recommended for blood type O, but I would drink green tea and would feel also very good with that. So that was also totally okay. When it comes to the negatives, I mean, it is quite restrictive. So for me to be doing this type of diet my whole life would be very, very hard, especially to follow it very strictly. Some red wine is okay on the diet, but alcohol is in general something you should avoid with blood type O, but it says some red wine is okay. And beer, of course, which I love, is very bad for blood type O on this diet, so that should be avoided. So it is quite restrictive, and that is, of course, a bigger minus on this diet. And you cannot also eat like all types of meat, all types of fish. Also there it's restricted to a few types, which also makes it a bit more difficult if you really want to follow it. Of course, there is more foods you can eat when you also look at what is neutral on that diet. Also some carbs there are neutral, makes it easier. But still a lot of the really good stuff is on the avoid, like coffee, like candy, like pasta. Wheat in general, which makes it very, very difficult. But to follow it maybe like 80-20, like most meals are more like that, and 20% is more whatever you want. Maybe that could be sustainable, but in general for me it would be very, very hard to follow that diet. But for weight loss, I think it's super. If it was super for me, I have to say that. I don't know how it is for people in general. For energy, I felt super. My digestion was super. Blood sugar level was amazing. A bit limiting, that is maybe the main part. But I would, for my sake, do it again. And I have taken components from this diet to my everyday life right now. So some meals I really still base on this, and it makes it very easy for my blood sugar, for insulin, when I follow this more. Like for dinner, for example, I try to avoid too much carbs, and I try to adjust a bit. For example, if I make pizza, there are variants where you can have more low carb pizza. And in general, if I eat low carb, higher fat, higher protein, I feel much better, and I feel it's much easier with insulin. And often when I feel bloated and not very good is when I eat a lot of grains or sugar or products like that. So I can definitely see that those things are not the best for me. So maybe there is some connection. But of course, they have done a lot of science on this diet, and they see that it's not supported by science or evidence. So maybe just in general, I feel good on this for other reasons, and of course also because I'm a diabetic. And we also know that for people with diabetes, there are different foods can spike insulin for different people. So also again, this would, I'm sure, not be for everybody. But for me, the blood type diet with blood type O was a very good experience, and I have included some of in my diet and some thoughts from there even to this day. I hope it was useful. If you have experience with this type of diet or blood type A diet or B or AB, would also be interesting if you also have some experience you want to share with us. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.